for joining me. Before I take some questions, I'd like to say a few words about the BOE approval to allocate $3 million in local impact funds for the relocation of a steam line outside of the new casino. I am certainly sympathetic to the concerns some community leaders have expressed. But it's important to understand and remember that were it not for this casino, Baltimore City would be missing out on long-term revenue, a long-term revenue stream that will do a lot for these communities, not to mention create jobs for residents, as well as tax revenue for the city. This steam line is city-owned public infrastructure that is needed, to serve the city, as well as other vital institutions, including hospitals and government buildings. However, where the steam line is currently located poses both a public safety concern for casino visitors, as well as a potential impediment to city revenue because of the regular maintenance that's required on this line. If left as is, potentially 10,000 visitors per day crossing Warner Street to enter, 10,000 visitors per day crossing Warner Street to enter the casino would be exposed to hot manhole covers and the steam exiting those manholes. The city could potentially lose up to $90,000 per day every time the street was closed for regular maintenance to the street, to that steam line, which in the long term diminishes the returns for community projects as well as city revenue. Again, the city would potentially lose up to $90,000 per day every time the street was closed for regular maintenance to the steam line. My administration worked diligently to identify other alternatives to resolve this issue, including leaving the steam line where it is. But unfortunately, no other alternatives could be identified. Therefore, we had to make a decision that no one wanted to make. It certainly wasn't our preference, but it was necessary to ensure the casino opened on time. And it's much better that we are proactive in addressing this situation instead of being reactive after the casino opened. The funding will spread out over fiscal years 16 and 17 to diminish the community's impact as much as possible. This is a very important project for the city. It represents revenue to the city, it represents jobs, and moreover, once the $3 million is paid in 16 and 17, that money will then become available to fund more of the community projects. Again, this project is much too important to be this close to getting it open this close to the finish line to walk away. I'll open it up to questions.
One of the questions of the community people on the local government council is why the city couldn't have used other money to get revenues from the casino, and why those revenues or other revenue sources could not be used. It's not a question over the importance of this project, but that the funding came from community grants that were by law supposed to go to the community.
Right. And again, we have to be clear. We looked very diligently for alternatives, but for this casino, this revenue stream to the city, as far as tax revenue that are going for school construction, recreation, as well as property tax reduction, if it weren't for the casino, that revenue stream wouldn't be there. If it wasn't for the casino, the steam pipe would remain. We have no interest other than making sure that there's continuity of service for the casino, not for anything else, that the pipeline would be moved. So there's no magic pot of money for this to come from. If it doesn't come from this community impact, it would have to come from general funds, which would impact the city overall for a project that, as I said, but for the casino and the ongoing revenue that we would, that's at risk, we wouldn't do. So, again, it's a decision that we certainly would have preferred not to have to make, but we have to protect the investment.
So is there about safety? Is it about safety or is it about revenue? I mean, aren't there other places downtown where there have been manhole covers flying up from the steam, and those aren't.
It's about all of the things I listed in my remarks. I mentioned safety and revenue.
Is
Well,
there a
it
question
seems
that-
like if there's other places where this is happening in the city, they're not getting funds from casino impacts to have that.
But I think
safety
you would be
problem
hard
corrected.
pressed to find another place where that many people would be walking over the steam line on a daily basis.
Is
Yes.
there a question that there isn't money available except for the impact funding? I mean, there isn't $3 million in the general fund or from some other fund you could have used?
I would love some suggestions. So you're suggesting
Well, I
taking
mean,
money
this-
out of the city services for the entire city to fund this steam project?
If you ask some of the people in the neighborhood, yeah, they think that's, I mean, it
But
should
that
come
makes
out of their
sense
pot.
that makes sense to you. But for the casino, they're getting impact from the casino. But for the casino, we wouldn't move the steam line. So follow the logic for what you're saying. Help me understand why that makes sense.
Okay.
But
I'm curious.
I'm only relaying what they told me. I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah, but you're asking a question as if it
Well,
made sense.
So in other words, there's not other money that you could have used. This is probably the best alternative. Is that the best way to describe it?
Yes.
Okay.
with pulling money from the general fund, though, the entire city's going to benefit from having the casino, with the school construction and other money going out to the community. So why not pull it from the general fund versus the community impact? So it's more spread out.
This was the best use. This was the best alternative that we found. These are funds that are coming into the city that are directly from the casino, but for the casino, the line wouldn't be moved.
I've
What's
heard,
the timing on this? Is they gonna move this pipe within the next?
They moved it, right?
Done.
It's moved,
It's done.
It's done.
Okay, so the work's done.
All right.
You decided, the administration decided last May, it says, to make 2014 to order the pipe relocated. Is that correct from the statement? May of 2014, 3 months ago, wasn't that right? Right. Why wasn't I didn't see any announcement of the relocation or the use of the funds then. It seemed to pop up in the Board of Estimates document this week for the first time.
No, I think
We
there's.
actually met earlier with the local development council to
Come on over here
discuss
so you can
a-
use the mic. Let's start off. Thanks.
Hi. So we've been exploring uses because of the lead time needed for the pipe itself to be able to install it. We had to move forward with ordering the pipe while we continue to explore all alternatives possible. And as Madam Mayor said previously, this was the best alternative we could find.
one of the things that somebody from the neighborhood told me, and one of the activists from the Westport Neighborhood Association told me yesterday, is that there's a possibility that state law requires that this move might be illegal. I mean, this person inferred it. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. But I know that, state law says certain percentage must go to help the community. Did you comment on that? I mean, I assume the solicitor's office reviews these things, but
Yes.
is this, I mean, what do
That
you say?
information is incorrect.
Okay.
Are we talking overall gambling question? Atlantic City is now closed for casinos.
Mm-hmm.
The industry is flat at best in many places. How confident are you that Maryland has not yet hit the saturation point? I mean, what
I think
tells
the-
you it hasn't?
I think the many things tell me it hasn't. Number one, the amount of gaming revenue that's being made right down the road in Arundel Mills is at Maryland Live is a clear indication that we haven't seen the saturation point. I think that we have an incredible opportunity because Baltimore City is a destination, because our tourism industry is growing, because we chose an operator of the casino that has a built-in customer base outside of the Maryland region. I think there's a lot of opportunities for growth. That being said, the mere fact that I think what we're offering at the Horseshoe will overshadow what's being offered anywhere else in the state of Maryland. It's a beautiful, top quality facility with many Baltimore residents. They're bringing their Baltimore charm to the casino. It will be a destination.
I'd like to ask about another matter.
You sure?
Councilman Kern came before the board this morning, raising some concerns about a contract for Express Scripts, extension of their contract. He said, look, this is a company that's defrauded us in the past. Those were his words. Why are we giving them more money and not using a local business? I'd like to get your thoughts about that.
So I heard him say that they had defrauded New York in the past. I didn't.
He said the city auditor said that they overcharged by $500,000.
Right, okay, so I missed, the long and the short of it is, the councilman made an excellent point, and it's about local jobs. And to that point, I'm very interested in seeing the proposal that will come from our local pharmacists to see if the services that we can provide on a local level can match the national retailers. This is about making sure that we provide top quality health care that is affordable and reliable for all the people who depend on it. And if there's a way to do that at the same time we're providing the opportunity for local jobs, I'm interested in seeing that proposal. There's at least a 1-year extension on the current contract as we continue to audit Express Scripts in preparation for the new RFP. You know, you do an audit to help determine what you want to do moving forward. And during that time, I hope that the local pharmacies take time to put together a competitive proposal.
Mayor, you've been involved in an ongoing debate. Well, you've talked nationally about some policing issues in Ferguson. Some of the recent cases of custody deaths in New York and in Ferguson have gone to a grand jury. Would you, I know this isn't your decision, but theoretically, would you support bringing future cases in Baltimore in front of a grand jury? Was that a policy that you think we should institute
I think
here?
the policy that I'm focused on is doing everything we can to prevent future cases. I've done I spent a lot of time in communication with residents at the non-public safety forums, as well as the one just focused on youth. And at every forum, the issue of police brutality came up. The issues that are impacting what's going on in Ferguson and other places, that came up. So we know, the point of it wasn't just to sit there and listen, but it was to listen and then act. And we know that we have work to do there to increase the trust that our communities have with our use of force decisions and police brutality.
Much has been said about the appearance of these heavily militarized police units that are working in Ferguson.
They're operating, they're not working.
Okay, operating, okay. Okay, gotcha. Present, they're present.
Do you think they're working?
No,
Yeah.
not terribly well. Okay, they're
Yeah.
present. And, obviously, if you take away the chyron on the bottom of the screen, this could be Syria, who knows. But have you asked, and are you, or do you know, what is the Baltimore Police Department equipped with?
Yeah, we
have that?
I don't know what we have. I know that we have, because of where we're located, right outside of DC, and many of your stations have covered the equipment we have as far as emergency preparedness. We have a warehouse with many things to respond to all different types of emergencies. But they are just that. They are for dramatic, God forbid it's some sort of terrorism attack or natural disaster. That's what it's there for. So no, I haven't looked into it because we have all types of equipment. I don't walk around with a personal inventory because I'm very careful about how those things are being used, and the thought to use them on your own people in that sense just never crossed my mind.
Do you support putting cameras on Baltimore police officers?
That's something that we're taking a look at. It was something that was brought up at one of the public safety forums. The issue that I know that between the police department and the mayor's office of criminal justice is taking a look at is what happens with those tapes, in the sense that 911 calls are public domain. If an officer responds to a house, let's say for a domestic violence call, and they walk in the house with the camera on, I can certainly imagine where a survivor would not want that in the public domain. But if the officer's wearing a camera, wouldn't it have to be? So there are a lot of questions about privacy and what happens with those tapes that have to be addressed. And we're taking a look at what's being done in other jurisdictions to protect victims of crime and their privacy.
Do you see a benefit?
I'm sure, I can think of, 100 ways that could be useful. I could also think of 101 that it could potentially be a privacy issue that I don't think any of us want to sign up for.
I know you get briefings from the police department on different cases.
Mhm.
Have you heard anything about the Mackenzie LA cases, where that stands? I know it's been nearly 3 weeks since she was killed. I know what the commissioner had promised.
No further. No further updates than the last that we've provided. It remains under investigation. We still have the persons of interest, and we push to bring those individuals to justice.
There are persons of interest. I thought there was only one. That's why.
With one person in custody, but there's more than one person involved.
Gotcha.
Has the community been cooperative? Obviously, this was
Very
people know,
very
people
cooperative.
know something up there.
Yeah. So, and I've mentioned that before. When we were out there canvassing in the neighborhoods with the Metro Crime Stopper hotline number, there were a lot of people who expressed an interest in being helpful. So we're definitely following up on those leads.
Madam Mayor, can you talk about some of the efforts that your administration is pursuing to drive down overtime costs?
So one of the biggest thing that we did was the new police contract that we're hoping, once fully implemented, will help us to drive down overtime costs. It gives us a lot more flexibility in the deployment of officers, and it will help us to drive down overtime costs.
I just wanted to it wasn't clear, if there was, I know you're trying to prevent it, but if there was another Tyrone case.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If
I
there
thought
was
you were
another
going back to your
Tyrone
old question.
case
Mm-hmm.
where there was a question of use of force, would you support other jurisdictions doing that, bringing in front of a grand jury as a way to ensure that, there's aren't questions about internal investigations? Specifically.
Yeah, I can't answer that sort of in a hypothetical sense. You have to base it on the specific incidents. In that case, I was the highest ranking public official to ask for that information to be released for them. When the state's attorney decided not to pursue charges, I investigated, asked that my own department be reviewed as far as the appropriateness of the actions of the police department. I take it seriously, but I think it's a little not unfair, but you can't answer that question sort of in a broad hypothetical.
Well, the Tara West case, should that have gone from a grand jury?
I can't say off the top of my head. I would have to take a look at it again.
Mayor, let's ask a kind of a different question about this topic, which comes up again in Ferguson. I heard one of the state legislators say that the prosecutor for that county, which is going to handle this grand jury, is ill-prepared, and it's inappropriate for him to handle this case because his father was apparently killed by an African-American in a crime or something, indicating that he would have a bias because of that. There may be a different bias that has been raised in different prosecutions in the city of Baltimore, whether the state's attorney's office can inherently be unbiased investigating police, because they have to rely on these folks. This particularly came up in the Felicia Barnes case, where one of its key detectives was under investigation for integrity matters at the same time the lead detective in the murder case.
Right.
Have you thought about, talked about a completely different process to handle police misconduct and brutality cases? that gets outside the police department and outside the state's attorney's office?
No, I think it's certainly, something worth thinking about, but I haven't, for me, I'll tell you my approach to these things, and I'll go talk about a totally unrelated thing, but I'll bring it back. It's just like with the land bank, right? When we had the issue, it was that we knew that there were problems in the process of getting city-owned property in the hands of people who either wanted to rehab them for their own use or rehab them, for that. So there was a time when there was a recommendation to land bank, right, to put it in outside of city government, a quasi-city agency. And I said at that time, we might need to go that route, but we shouldn't go that route because we have a broken system. Let's fix the problems that we have, and then after doing that, if we find out that we still can't cut through the red tape, we still can't make an efficient system, we still can't be effective in what we're trying to do, then let's look at that, taking a solution that is outside of government. And we fixed it. Vacancy value is getting national and international acclaim for being an innovative way to deal with an urban problem. So I started there to say, we know that there are challenges in that process with how to prosecute police misconduct. We know that you have to be very, very careful because of the deep relationships between the deep relationships and roles of the police department and the way that they are used in the community, as well as being used in prosecution. My first answer isn't to go outside to look for a solution, but to identify the points of the areas of the problem internally, and try to fix that. If we do that and there's not confidence that we're getting it right, then I think it would be appropriate to talk about an outside option.
Can we ask one last question about the red line?
Yeah, why not? I don't have a guaranteed answer. Go ahead.
It's $200 million, right?
Yes.
So what steam line are you gonna move? I'm just kidding.
I'll say this. I'll say this with the red line, and this is the same with the casino. There's big picture and there's small picture. Big picture, no thriving, vital city that we have, not just in this country but all over the world, is thriving and vital and growing without a strong public transportation system. So we know that we need one. The question is, how do we get there? And I think the red line is a tremendous opportunity to connect people with jobs, to have an integrated public transportation system. And because of that, and because of what the outcome will bring, as well as the opportunities that will be created in the process through the jobs. So it's, jobs as a part of the construction, and then, there's lots of opportunities for job growth as a result of the infrastructure investment. It is a worthwhile goal to get the red line done. Because of that, I've instructed my team to be aggressive in making sure that we do our part to make this project successful. I'm very pleased that we continue to work with the Maryland Department of Transportation on a definition of that $200 million that is fair and that allows us to make a sufficient amount of investment without it being an uneven cost to the community moving forward. And I think we've achieved that balance.
So in other words, you're trying to avoid a tax increase or any kind of fee increase, I think, on the citizens.
Well, not even that. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get to it. You can do it by increasing fees, or you can do it in making cuts. And either way, it's not good. So I think that we have been able to negotiate a contribution agreement that allows us to move forward, but with the whole city moving forward.
Is that contribution agreement been reached now? Is it public
We're very,
information?
no, it's not ratified. I think we are very close.
Wasn't there a rough date of September 1st of getting this done?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay,
I
but
can,
you expect it to be done soon?
yes,
Okay.
And you'll let us all know when that happens.
Right.
yes, you first.
No, Mark should go first. He's right. He raised this issue first.
Can I ask one more about the casino?
Yeah, why
Is
not?
Is this a one-time spending item? I mean, what's to stop
For the
this-
what? The
for
steam line?
For the steam line. What's
Oh,
to stop
yeah,
the
it's-
city from going back to the well in a sense and using this money for other infrastructure improvements if they could tie it back to the casino and argue that
This
it's
isn't,
to
this
help the
isn't
casino?
a reach. You know, this isn't a, if we can tie it back. There's no other reason to move the steam line except for the fact that the casino is there. The steam line has been there, and would, if the casino wasn't there, it would continue to be there. So this is not a, if we can tie it back. We're not looking for ways. I didn't fight for this project to use the casino to pay for unrelated expenses. I fought for this project because I believe it will bring us property tax reduction, which will help us grow our city. It will go for school construction, which will help us provide the futures that we need, that our children deserve, as well as recreational opportunities. That's why I fought for this project. But in getting this casino, it became clear that if the pipe wasn't moved, it would put that revenue stream and all of the things that I fought for in jeopardy. So we looked and looked and looked for alternatives on how to make sure the casino happened and that it had continuity of service. And the only solution was to move the steam line. If it wasn't, again, if it weren't for the casino, steam line wouldn't be moved, and this we believe is the best solution moving forward. This is money, revenue that is coming to the city because of the casino. This project is that $3 million price tag is because of the casino. That is a marriage of, you know, cause and an effect that makes sense. And also it's very clear to say that this is a one-time thing. After that, you spread out over 2 fiscal years, but after it's paid for, that money that goes into that community impact fund will go on as long as the casino is there. So this is again a one-time cost spread over 2 years because of the casino. And after it's paid, that the funds will be directed toward the projects that the community cares about.
So you're saying you will not use money from the community impact fund in the future on other infrastructure improvements related to the casino?
If you're asking me if the casino because of the casino, if there are other infrastructure problems, should I then go to the general fund for that?
Yeah, are you saying you will not go back to the community impact fund, or would you use the general?
If there is ever a time in the future that the casino, because of the casino, there are directly related infrastructure funds, I will take a look at all of the options, including the community impact fund, as I think is responsible to do. Because the only reason, again, that the steam line is being moved is because of the casino.
Could you
No, I think I'm done.
clarify-
I've been very generous with my time this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.